But folks, what I do want to share with you right now are the characteristics of a systematic assessment validation approach. We know that the standards for RTOs 2015 have said that it must be a systematic approach. Here's the way to make it so. Top of the list there, it needs to be focused with a schedule of validation activities. I share with you a very quick example of the one that we've had from 2015 to 2020. You'll also have a blank version of that as part of your collateral from this. So you'll be able to use that if you haven't already got something. And for those that mention that in the chat box, there's a starting point to sort of get an idea of how to populate that and then who to connect the dots to. We need someone responsible for it. And this in a small RTO is usually a real challenge because you're often doing multiple roles. You wear many different hats. And sometimes we'll say we're all responsible for it. We all should have a vested interest in getting it right. But if no one has it in their job description, often it doesn't happen. Okay, we still need somebody in the end who will make it happen and drive it. Now, in that small RTO, that could be the CEO. In a larger organization, it might be a compliance manager or something similar, but you need to have someone responsible to make sure it happens and to hold the group accountable for the schedule. Like, we're not just writing the schedule to tick a box to meet registration. We have to make sure that we're following it. And if something happens operationally, i.e. COVID, and you can't do some of the things that were on the schedule, then you need to reschedule it, and you need to make sure you still cover everything you'd planned to cover, but you might need to adjust some of the timeframes. You might need to adjust the meeting style. So like we had to take a lot of our validation meetings that were going to be face-to-face all online. It didn't affect the timing of it, but it did affect who may be available to be involved. We need systems to support it. So yes, we've got the schedule, which is great, but how are we recording some of the outcomes or the actions that are required, or even things like the continuous improvement log? Do we have systems in place to track that, to report that, to share those sorts of things, and to push it to the key stakeholders in the organization who can actually make a difference in making sure that the validation wasn't just done for the sake of doing it, that it actually helps to improve our assessment practice? And as you mentioned, team, the activities and actions have to be documented. Again, that's what's critical at audit, but that paper trail also helps us in the event that someone moves on from your organization. So that responsible person may leave your business, may leave your RTO, they might take a holiday, that's okay. And then something happens, you need to go in and be able to see, well, what did we talk about? Why did we make these decisions? What's the key action? When was that due? Have we done it? Have we updated the schedule? And so on and so forth. So those activities and actions must be documented. And then finally, and this is the big thing for me, it's a part of our business, not apart from the business. And I go back to what I said earlier, team. We're not just doing this to meet compliance. We're doing this because it makes good business sense. We're creating assessment practices that have integrity, that we're confident in. We know the judgments are right. And we've got a mechanism in place that if something goes wrong, we can catch it early and then make the change again to protect the integrity of what we're doing assessment-wise.